Welcome, everybody, to Passion IT Group, and we've got a conversation today as part of our little podcast series, our little interview series. Two guys that I have met over the years and worked with in different capabilities, from training to consulting to just fun stuff. And both of them bring a lot to the table. First, we have Ken Jarvis. Ken, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. I know you have this huge background as a CIO. You are the now the CIO, helping CIOs. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Ken Jarvis, I've been in the industry for too many years to count. Started off with IBM. I spent 10 years at IBM. Then I became a CIO at a very young age. Was working for a life insurance company and then spent 20 years as a corporate CIO. Had many challenges, did some unique and fun things. And then I started my own consulting practice, mainly focusing on turning IT shops around.
Right.
So CEOs would call me in and say, my IT shop's not running well, please fix it. And doing a lot of mentoring and coaching for CIOs, which is what I enjoyed. Right. Moved to the States some 7 years ago, ran a business out of Boynton Beach for one of my ex-customers at that stage. And then at the beginning of this year, I joined PeopleCert. PeopleCert are wanting to help CIOs do justifications, help them understand ITIL, help understanding why they should be moving from 3 to 4, help understanding DevOps and the integration between that and ITIL. So I'm effectively a consultant for PeopleCert, helping people get the maximum benefit that they can out of the frameworks that are available.
Excellent. And by the way, doing a great job on it. We were actually at ITIL Travels events, that's where Ken and I kind of connected and just had some good times talking about hey, where's this going? What my experiences, his experiences. All right, Joining me on my left, on your right is the amazing, I like to say, Mark Bradley. Mark. Author, one of the co-authors of the ITIL 4 Digital and IT Strategy book and course. In fact, we're in the process of updating that course, so keep an eye out for that here at Passion IT Group. And but Mark, you've got a really good experience in the world, not just in programming, and taking that and then creating, boy, you just got so much stuff. ServiceNow, HP. I'm going to let you do it. Tell us a little bit about what you do and your current place at Flexera.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. Yeah. It's great to be here.
Good.
My name is Mark Bradley. I'm based out of Chicago, and I haven't been in IT as long as Ken, but
nobody has.
But I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And it's been an interesting ride. It all started with answering the ad that said "Computer Whiz Kid wanted." I accepted the challenge. It was Cisco Foods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, way back. So then they're a lot of technology. So I got exposed to a lot of technology, and then I got into investment banking, some of their technology, managing the trading floors and some NASDAQ terminals and whatnot. That was cool. Yeah. Then I got into insurance, and that's where I learned about ITIL.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Zurich Life, the Zurich Global. They were really big into it, and they hinted to the fact that if you can get certified, it kind of helps you accelerate your career.
Oh, yeah.
And I was on it.
All right. That's cool.
So I did those certs, and then one thing led to another, and I got into the technology behind it. So there was a company called Peregrine, and they were help desk software, and I got into that, and I was a help desk manager, and then when they brought in someone else that they wanted more seasoned, what do you want to do? And I dug into Peregrine. So I became an expert in that, and then slowly just continued that journey. And so now I've been with HP. I was HP for about 8-9 years.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
Implementing what was Service Center Service Manager. Then I went to Flexera, and I rolled out something, and I went back to HP, rolled out some more technology, and I found myself on the innovation side, developing new applications, working on what's coming next.
Yeah.
And then I had a chance during COVID work with David on the book. That was awesome. Learned a lot. And then went back to Flexera, and that's where I've been for a while.
Yeah.
And so now I'm working on some SaaS-based solutions, a little bit of sustainability, finding some innovation opportunities there. So again, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, good stuff. And for those of you, obviously, Chris Ward, Director of Trading, and ITIL 4 Master, working in that world in project management, IT service management. Did some, years of being in the trenches, but also not only unified communication systems and server infrastructure, a lot of Microsoft, Cisco type of thing. Yeah. So that's kind of my background. And then because of the project management background, and then doing IT work, someone once said, and he goes, you would be great with this ITIL stuff. And I'm like, ITIL, what's that? And he goes, oh, well, you check this out. So that was ITIL version 3 and into ITIL 2011. And so got to be an expert in that area and then worked my way into just training and getting into this wonderful world. Which brings us to our first question, guys, for our little podcast, our little video cast here. And that is the future of ITIL. I know that just talking with people, training on this, I get a lot of questions from people saying, Chris, okay, I'm going to get this certification. Now what? And is this like the new hot thing, or is that? And I'm always like, well, for 30 years, it's kind of been a pretty important thing. But where is it going? And I'm just kind of curious for someone who obviously working with people, cert, also going, this is the thing I'm looking for, to helping to write a book on an area in ITIL, digital and IT strategy, working with like you said, innovation and sustainability and things like that. We'll start with that question. I'll start with Ken.
No,
Ken, well,
thanks
hey,
for that.
come on. Why not? Yeah.
In the pre-work, we said Mark was going to
Yeah. We like that. All right, so Ken, talk to us a little bit. Where do you see ITIL go? We're in this. ITIL 4 is more on the going from that life cycle view of things into a value system, service value system, incorporating more areas of like agile and DevOps and lean and instead of just giving a hat tip to it, now it's like pulling some of those guiding principles in. Where do you see ITIL going into the future?
Great question, and I think what we have to do is just roll it back a little bit and say, take the word ITIL out of the discussion and say, do you need a framework to get the basics of running an IT division in place? Okay. I don't think those basics are ever going to go away. I always need to have sustainability. I always need reliability. I'm never going to not have a help desk. Right. I need those disciplines, and I don't care what's coming into the future. That discipline's not going away. So does ITIL have a future? You bet. Okay, yeah. I see it moving on forever. You spoke about 30 years ago. My first rollout was in the late 90s. That was an ITIL. And we speak about the great David Cannon. He did that for me. Okay, I was a CIO, and Dave Cannon did my first ITIL rollout. And even in today, if I was a CIO, ITIL will be a fundamental principle of how I run my ops. Okay, so I don't see ITIL going anywhere. If you look at the evolution of ITIL, remember it's by default a best practice. Okay? Right. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't come out before best practice has been identified. So it's not yet got AI. Why? AI best practices are not yet identified. Exactly. So how does AI fit into ITIL? Well, let's find out when the best practices are understood and documented. Then we can start to look at AI, how AI and ITIL would coexist.
Right, and that's a great point, and because a lot of people think that ITIL kind of drives things. Instead, it says, no, we're going to find out globally accepted best practices, bring them in. And so, like for example, we just kind of touch on something, and then I'll throw the question to you, Mark, is, we talk about AI. And you mentioned, well, we'll always need a help desk. Well, where is the help desk? How is the help desk incorporating AI? Well, some people are like, well, we're just going to flip a switch and let AI handle all of it. Not a good idea,
Not
by the way.
acceptable.
Please don't do that.
No.
Those are some, but okay. Well, then how much? What do you use? Where does it go? Right?
Yeah. And if you want to talk about AI and help desks, when you started to say, if it's this problem, hit this key, if it's that problem, that's an early form of AI, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so we could define AI any which way you want. So yes, AI needs to be looked at, and AI somehow will impact the ITIL frameworks. Let's not kid ourselves; it will impact.
Yeah.
But let's let it evolve a little bit longer first.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we start to say, let's incorporate it.
Yeah.
So, what's the ITIL futures? I don't know when ITIL 5 is coming out.
Yeah.
Personal Ken Jarvis opinion, non-disclaimers.
Sure. Yes.
I don't think it'll be 2025.
Yeah.
I think it will be beyond 2025. I do think you'll see some changes to ITIL 4, specifically the value systems
Right.
discussion. I think you may find that could undergo some changes, and maybe make it more loose and not as hard, and break it up into can I do modules of it?
Yeah.
I think that may become something in 2024. We spoke about it in San Francisco.
Yes, we did.
When we were at the roadshow. So that's not confidential. We are discussing that with our clients at the moment. So ITIL will continue to evolve.
Yeah.
And as I say, if we take the word ITIL out, the framework of what it achieves will always be required.
Yeah.
Therefore, ITIL has a future. I
Yeah.
have absolutely no doubt.
Yeah.
about
One of the things. So same question. Kind of
Yeah.
kicking it off to you there. Mark.
So I agree with Ken. When you think back of the history, the reason it needed to be there was because large computer company was implementing snowflake implementations all around the world, and every single one was different. And some made it and some did not. Some had its strengths, some did not. And we needed something, some group to go around and capture the best of what they're doing. And when you think about those first books, it was a lot of books because there was a lot of things that were happening.
Yeah.
And then as the industry itself all matured, and the vendors started to adopt it to the point where I remember the days of, it kind of reminds me of Microsoft Office. Word was over here, PowerPoint was over there, and then when they merged it together, you don't envision buying Microsoft Office you don't just buy Word, you don't just buy PowerPoint anymore.
Yeah.
And I think with ITIL, incident, problem, change, request, there used to be different companies that used to do those.
Yes.
And then because of this framework and because of how it all came together and the best practices, it made sense. And then as the industry progressed, now we needed to certify these combined solutions.
Yeah.
And as we combined these combined solutions, the industry just kept getting better. And the people who would jump out ahead and create the blueprint, they would create different templates that were ahead of where the industry was and being successful. And then slowly the industry catches up and it's embraced in the solution. So I think ITIL, much like Ken, it's in the fabric of what we do today.
Yeah.
And it's done a tremendous job to the point where, they sometimes say they hire you so that when you do the job, you do it so well that they don't need you anymore because you did the job that you were hired to do. And I think ITIL is in this phase now where it's done its job so well. It's in the fabric. Any company who you look at, you're going to see the structure in place.
Yep.
So now, and then I think when ITIL 4 came out, it was during COVID.
Yeah. True.
And I think the industry itself accelerated at such a pace because anyone who didn't adapt and adopt,
Agree.
they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
And they suffered a painful, slow, demise, if you will. But those that adopted and adapted and had the structure in place, and then innovated some more, came out of COVID bigger, better than ever.
Yeah.
And then now we're on the other side of COVID. A few years have passed, and the industry has now been introduced to AI. And AI, much like Ken had said, there's a lot of knowledge that we kind of already had. We had knowledge management. We had good, solid data that we can refer to help solve our problems in a best practice manner. And now AI is being thrown out there, but will it disrupt? Absolutely.
Yes.
It's already disrupted multiple industries across the world, and those that aren't adapting are seeing this. So I like the fact that we're talking about the next version of ITIL. I like the fact that other frameworks have popped up to help address gaps.
Yeah.
But each one of them refer back to, you can't not refer back to ITIL.
Right.
One of my favorites that I've been digging into, FinOps.
Yes.
And there's an ITIL on-ramp right into it. And no one's going to dismiss that.
Yep.
And so we continue to see that. So I'm excited. I also seen the practices, the and additional thought leadership that's happening in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's more to come, and I think it's going to be exciting, and we'll take it.
Chris, if I could just add just a different perspective as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are predicting the death of ITIL. Okay?
Right.
Saying it's not needed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's old-fashioned. And the tools will do that job.
Right.
My analogy with that is when ERP came out. Okay, people said ERP is going to do the job. And people were implementing ERP and then turning around and saying, oh, we didn't design our processes first. The word our processes first.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole ERP market changed from just dump an ERP down and it will dictate the way you run your business to no, we're going to dictate to it the way we run our business. And then the ERP will support our processes. ITIL's no different. Okay. Remember, ITIL's a framework.
Yeah.
The tool needs to support your framework. And tools have come and gone. You said 30 years. How many tools have come and gone over 30 years?
Yes.
And yet
A few.
ITIL is still there.
Yeah.
It is no different, okay? ITIL will always be your framework. It will always be there. The tool will support your framework.
Right.
Okay? The tool cannot be your framework.
Yeah.
Okay? It can never be like that. So
Correct.
people predicting the death of ITIL, I'm sorry, I cannot agree. I think that's so far from the truth it's scary.
Right. Yeah. And I think what the thing is we take certain things for granted these days, right? It's almost like it's a part of our culture. It's part of our DNA. And so we don't even think well, why is that? Well, that's because it's the framework. It's ITIL. Like, the fact that you talk to any help desk, a new person coming on, and you say, an incident comes in, how do you handle it?
Yeah.
And someone goes, oh, well, you log it, you categorize it, you prioritize it, you analyze it, possibly escalate it, you resolve it, right? And then you close it. And in some form or manner, I go, right, where that is like encoded? That's part of ITIL framework. That's how incident management, right? And you might want to say, well, we do it slightly different. And we keep saying this until we're blue in the face or red. Just depends. You say, it's non-prescriptive, and if you want to categorize before you prioritize, or you prioritize before you categorize. ITIL says, more power to you. You do you, boo, I think is like the new phrase, right? And so those are things that I think I agree with you, Ken. I don't think there's this death of ITIL. It's going to be much more nuanced in a way of how it responds or how it grows.
I know I'm going to upset some people, but I predict the death of tools before I predict the death of ITIL. New tools will come out.
Yes.
Before ITIL dies.
Yeah. All right. So we talked a little bit about ITIL. Another question for you two gentlemen is, dealing with the fact that, a lot of times when people are using ITIL, we would say using ITIL or some framework to do their IT operations, right? And we would say whether it's, cloud-based or, on-prem, or whether it's hybrids, or whether you're using app-based companies that they're just based on building apps, so they're more platform-based. What platform, using it as a platform as a service, and there's a lot of things going on in there. Most of these things are going to be treated like projects. Now, interestingly enough, and this is something where I'm curious as somebody who's a project manager, Prince 2, PMI guy. Do you see it helpful that your project management way of doing things, your methodology, your mindset, so let's say Prince 2, because it's kind of built to align with ITIL, do you see that as an advantage or not that big of a deal?
Interesting question. My first reaction is I'm not sure it's that big of a deal.
Okay.
Because any decent project tool like Prince 2, I have to say Prince 2 is a good one because they pay my salary.
I wasn't laying it up for him, I promise. It's like
any decent project tool should be able to run a project that's building houses, that's running a campaign for a company that's non-IT related.
Right.
I think I shared with you, I ran a corporate project office once with 250 people. It was when I was the CIO for the equivalent of the IRS. And we were running projects from building houses for customs border posts to, because that was all part of the IRS, to the campaign for the next tax season, etc. So all projects were run and everybody understood the methodology. And if you went into a project workshop, everybody knew the terminology because we used the same tool. So I would certainly not want Prince2 to lose its focus on being a damn fine project management tool.
Right.
That it needs to still focus on. Are there benefits for integration? I'm sure there are some benefits. I would need more time to think about it. But yeah, if I could integrate it into what I'm doing, or even, so just, it's coming to me now, okay?
Yeah.
Having incidents reported on the project that feed back into the project management frameworks and the dashboards, that would be very interesting. How do I integrate incident management back? So as I'm rolling a project out, I'm getting calls at the help desk,
right.
and suddenly it's feeding back into Prince2. There could be some massive benefits for that.
Yeah, that's good.
And I say that's thinking on my feet.
Yeah, Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, so first of all, resources are valuable. It's people, or a lot of our businesses depend on people. And I believe people want to do the right thing. I believe if you give them a task, they want to do the task.
Yeah.
The question is what am I doing? What I'm doing, is it important? What's the impact on the business? What's the impact on what we're trying to accomplish? And I think project management helps get down to the task at hand, rolling it up in project portfolio and across the board. And I like Ken's idea. If you integrated the two, did I do a quality job? And I can validate the quality of the job because there's no tickets.
Yeah.
And then the resources that we have are shining because they're delivering on what we committed to and what we're essentially paying them for. And then as the business evolves, you can have confidence that you're going to get that done.
Yeah.
Right.
When the CIO or the CEO goes and looks mano a mano to the investor and says, I'm going to move this project from here to here, and it's going to be better than it was before, and they want to know that they have the confidence to commit to that.
Yeah.
They get the funding to do that, and then they get the big customer that needs them to do that.
Right.
Because just because you're the cheapest, maybe you're not going to be able to do it. And then everyone loses.
Yeah.
But when you have something like this, when I say, well, how are you going to make that happen? Well, it's funny you should say that. We've implemented Prince2, ITIL 4. We've got these things in place. Here's my reports. Here's my results. We've been able to accomplish these things in these time frames, and I'm confident my team can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we would probably say, one of the aspects of it is this speaking the same language, right? Where we're, when I say incident,
We all know what that
we
means.
all know what it means,
If
right?
you say ticket,
Yeah,
and
ticket.
straight away there's already two. If
Yeah.
you introduce project management, the terminology becomes the same. And if you use ITIL, the terminology becomes the same.
Right.
Everybody knows what a ticket and or an incident is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because you standardized.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I think you and I were talking about it, Ken, was the fact that at one particular time, one particular very large company, problem, incident. What's an incident?
Yes.
Isn't that where your car hits them? No, that's an accident. That kind of a thing, right?
Yes.
And I remember having conversations with people from this company that'll remain nameless, and it wasn't until all of a sudden someone said, ITIL comes in and goes, incident, unplanned interruption or degradation of a service or a product configuration item.
Yes.
And wait, but we don't call it. We call it a problem. Well, a problem is the potential or actual cause of an incident. And then known errors and workaround. All of a sudden you're getting this language where you two, Flexera hires you as a consultant, come in to do this. When they're saying what they're saying.
Yep.
When he makes a comment as part of the conversation,
Yeah.
you're speaking the same language. And I think that that's the beauty of a lot of frameworks. Now, I do know some of you, our fans out there, and fellow, and some other trainers out there that are good friends of mine, have been talking about things like, you've got SIAM, and you've got, Verisim, and you've got all these other things out there. And what I find, interestingly enough, is most companies are saying, that's fine, as long as the language, the lingo is the same to help us speak the same thing from the operational level. If we start talking about STO, strategic, tactical, and operational, what's happening at the operations, the C-suite up at the strategic level, they nod their head and go, know exactly what you're talking about.
I know the terminology.
Know the terminology.
Yep.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about that, and part of the reason, by the way, that question comes up all the time when I'm teaching ITIL, and then I'll have people in it, because Passion IT Group, we offer Prince 2, and we also offer ITIL training, is someone will say, I was in your ITIL class, and now I'm in your Prince 2 class, and how does this work together? And I'm always like, well, and I try to explain some of that, but I'm like, it'd be good to ask these two guys as well. Get some good, better stories to tell my students. So let's talk a little about another area that is another, I don't want to say buzzword, but it's something that has really kind of jumped in, and speaking of being disruptive, is DevOps. And, and let's be fair. Now, it's not only DevOps, it's DevSecOps or SecDevOps, depending on, again, just the order of things. So you have this new way of separating or getting rid of the separation, that wall of confusion that was between your development team and your operational team. And one of the beauties of what ITIL 4 has done is saying, yes, we agree, and in fact, DevOps seems to be the way it's been cooked and put together. PeopleCert actually has the DevOps, Institute, and the information coming in. ITIL allows you to plug into that, or I should say, like I keep stealing Ken's, phrases and thunders. This supports this, right? It's not the tool; it's this. Well, it's not DevOps. It's like ITIL comes in and goes, yes, right, and able to do that. Where do you see some of this happening in the industry, where DevOps, ITIL, and how they can work well together?
It's not how they can work; they must work well together. It's as a CIO, you have I have two different species of animals when I'm a CIO. I have dev people and I have ops people. Right. They are different. Yeah. These people are fundamentally different. Yeah. Okay, and the dev people don't necessarily like the ops people because they're blocking them from doing their work, and the ops people don't like the dev people because they're going to mess up my reliability and stability. So you have to have the two frameworks because they are fundamentally different approaches, different sciences, if you like. But they have to work well together. They have to play nice together. And the DevOps people that say, I don't need ITIL, no. And the ITIL people say, I don't need DevOps, no. You need to work nicely together. Anecdotally, I was at a CIO supper in Miami a couple of months ago. And we sponsored the supper, and I was going around the tables and sitting. So I would have appetizer at one station and entrees at another table. And I sat at one table, and I had a CIO who loved ITIL, and I had a CIO who loved DevOps. And the DevOps CIO was saying, but I don't need ITIL. And the CIO who liked ITIL literally said, but how do you do this in DevOps? And the guy said, the conversation did not last very long before the DevOps focused CIO understood that he needed ITIL. Just a simple question, how do you do incident management in DevOps? Come back to the real basic one. They have to coexist, okay? Right. And what PeopleCert is doing is saying, how can we coexist better? Yeah. How can we make the two frameworks better? Remember, they only bought the DevOps a few years ago. And you will see how we can integrate that more. But you still need both frameworks. Yeah. Okay? You cannot do one without the other.
Both frameworks. Mark?
Yeah, I look at ITIL as the foundation. It puts all the pieces and parts in place. And because you can get it in such an efficient and effective manner, that allows you to go at a faster pace in this DevOps area, because the technology, it's cloud-based, and they want to spin up services, do things quickly, and be able to accelerate at a pace that they're keeping. Yeah. Ken said it best. Dev wants to go, and operations like easy. They got to apply the governor to be able to manage the change and keep the operation going forward, because on the other side is subscription-based. And subscription means you can cancel at any time. Whereas before, you used to purchase the application, it was installed on your server, and it was harder to break away. But today, it's easier. So you let these two work through their magic, knowing that the foundation's in place to support that effort and allow them to go as fast as they want with a subset of our capabilities.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so last, just to kind of bring this conversation. By the way, guys, thank you for coming, and I'm hoping that we can.
We're
going to have to do some more of these conversations.
I didn't understand Mark was so much on my side.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to an argument.
Yeah.
I can trigger that.
And I'm sure there's going to be in the future topics where you both will be like, no way, going at each other. And maybe this one might be it. Just to kind of kick it off. This is kind of a surprise to both of them. I didn't include this in the thing.
Okay.
I knew something.
Yeah, here we go. And who knows? You guys might agree. Is what do you see? And I never do the 5-year, 10-year thing. In the next year, maybe 2, what do you see as something that will kind of be a disruptor? Okay, and by the way, you can do this at the if you take our digital and IT strategy, whether it's at the ecosystem layer where it's across all industries, all countries, all everywhere, or is it an industry or a market, or maybe even at the operational level? What is a disruptor that you think is going to happen in the next year or 2? We'll go with Mark first on this one.
So it's I think the disruptor at the moment, as we stand today, is obviously AI.
Okay.
And I think we're in the early days of each of the language models. You see from like IBM and Watson was moving along, but no one really, yes, they're winning chess games and Jeopardy, and then they were able to address some things within the healthcare arena, but it was away a little bit. And I think when ChatGPT came out and made it Google-like, command line, type in something and you get a response, and then the better the question, the better the results, and then now you're able to create some applets, if you will.
Yep.
And so I think we're in early days. And then when you go to, and it's gonna sound funny, there's a site called Happy Face where you can go and see other large language models that are designed to do a variety of things.
Right.
And it's not as uber as ChatGPT, but they're more focused. Maybe it's on visualization, maybe it's on audible, maybe it's on workflow. There are specialties out there, and they're being released. And I think what's going to happen is there will be a company out there who embraces it, and then they really train the model and reduce the hallucinations.
Right.
Checking for hallucinations. And then I think when they becomes more confident, the data set that becomes available becomes better. I do see AI playing a big part. I see some of it's almost like throughout the years, what we've seen over time is the mundane jobs getting replaced through machinery, through software, through automation. And I see it coming and automating quite a bit of the mundane, but you still need the human element at the end.
Right.
Someone's got to validate that. And I think what it's doing is it's going to raise the bar on the human element. So my recommendation for those is, jump in, learn it, play with it, see if you can get your own model to work with, so that as the industry continues to evolve, you're there and you understand it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And then how do I use this powerful tool?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So AI, and who knows, maybe that was a little bit of what you were going to talk about.
AI is the number one.
Yeah.
Okay. It is going to be a disruptor. I think what we don't know is what it's going to disrupt.
Yes.
The point you made about there's still a human element to a whole bunch of work.
Yeah.
Okay? A help desk is a human element. Okay?
Yes.
Just think of something as simple as a help desk.
Yeah.
Okay. AI may be able to help, but is that what you want it to be doing? So I just don't know what it's going to disrupt. It can certainly impact things like dev, etc. But then you go to, I attended a fascinating roundtable in Houston at the beginning of November. Are you going to have a CISO for AI? A compliance, governance? How do we control it?
Yeah.
If somebody in finance uses ChatGPT to make a decision, and it's the wrong decision and costs the company millions of dollars, who's accountable? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry, that was ChatGPT make that decision. No, you're accountable. but you use chat. I think there's still a lot to unpack with AI,
Yes.
and I still think there's going to be some governance in corporates to say we need to govern the use of AI.
Yeah.
What does that look like? So it's going to be disruptive. I think it's going to be very disruptive. I have a problem at the moment that I think is another cloud revolution coming. I truly believe that the cloud as cloud became this wave, and it was brilliant. And now people are looking at cloud going, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
My costs are running away.
Yes.
Okay. And you're seeing a little bit of move back to prem.
Yes.
I still think that somehow most companies I talk to are going, my cloud costs are out of control.
Yes.
And how do I get that back? I think there's going to be a disruptor in the cloud space that's going to try and get my costs versus use of cloud more accurate, more predictive. I can't budget at the moment for cloud.
Yes.
I have no idea what the consumption's going to be.
Yes.
Okay, how am I going to get that under control? So I think there's going to. I don't have the solution.
Yeah.
But I truly believe somebody's going to come and disrupt the crowd and bring in wave 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's going to look like, but somebody has to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
So
Can I?
All right. Well, this guy.
Favorite topic.
This guy.
You loved it for me.
And we were pre-briefed.
No, I know. I had no idea Ken was going to talk about this.
No.
But I don't know if you saw just how much he's leaning in and just like, I gotta say something. So as much as you can share,
Yeah.
Mr. Flexera, talk to us a little bit about that.
So you're absolutely right. There's the 3 cloud players today, a little bit Alibaba, depending on what part of the world. And it reminds me of the old telco bills.
Yeah.
I mean, you could fill rooms if you printed on 8.5 by 11. And I believe the same crew that we used to sit around the bar and come up with line items that shows up on your bill, and they're like, where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? Oh, yeah, well, it's this, and this. And you're like, but I wasn't paying that last month or last year, but I'm paying it now. So the cloud bills are going to continue to evolve. I just watched the whole AWS reInvent, and they spent 4 days, 60,000 people, had to spread it across 5 or 6 hotels.
Yeah.
They couldn't host it in one room. They had broadcast. And it was one innovation after another. If it was a boxing match, it was heavyweight hits left, right, and center. And all I could think about was, okay, that's all cool, but who's paying for all that?
Yeah.
The CIOs get a chance, and the DevOps, they're like, hey, this is late technology. I want to do AI. If I put just a slight bit of sustainability, those chipsets, you need nuclear power now to manage these data centers.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
data centers produce so much carbon, it eclipsed the airline industry. So now, and the amount of power, we were talking about the other day, to run one data center, one of these large data centers that, say, Microsoft or AWS has, it's enough power to power San Francisco. A gigawatt of power that you light up an entire city, now it takes to light up this data center. So that's why you're seeing the nuclear aspect. You're seeing NVIDIA just exploding because of the GPUs, but they need power, they need cooling. And then the line items, they just keep going. And so you're right. So we're, as an industry, Flexera, we're looking at how can we use AI, because it's a lot of data. I mean, terabytes of data.
Exactly.
And imagine you're a large company and you're spending $1 billion a year in the cloud, whereas it used to be, it's on the corporate card, it's a little R&D, and then suddenly your applications went from an experiment to production.
Yeah.
And then it grew, and now you're at this $1 billion where you have to, on your financials, have to put a line item in there that says cloud.
Yep.
Yeah.
$1 billion. And now it's going up.
Or even worse, between this and that.
Yes.
Between $1 billion and $2 billion, depending on the month.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, plenty more there. I could go on for a while.
Yeah,
but,
maybe that we'll do another. Again, we keep going. The next episode. So we're going to have to do this. Hopefully, just to kind of bring this to a close. Mark, thanks for coming in, for doing that. It's been fun building the new digital and IT strategy. Check it out at Passion IT Group. Ken, always a pleasure having you. My My wife thinks Ken is the greatest thing in the world. She goes, he is so funny. I love hearing Ken just tell his stories. And I'm like, yeah, he's a pretty good guy. But it's good to have you with us.
Thank
I
you.
love your, just bringing your experience, your expertise into this.
Thank
And
you, Chris.
by the way, as you're watching these, if there's a topic you would like, send it to info@passionitgroup.com. Say next series, next video with Ken and Mark. Please do this, or I have a question, or I think both of these guys are totally dead wrong, and I have the answer.
Bring in Gedden.
Okay.
Come on,
Dave
bring it in.
Yeah, we'll bring Dave in and he'll explain it all. Or no, we'll get Erica in.
There you go.
Yeah, she'll
mix it up.
She'll mix it up. She'll definitely do that.
Yep.
So anyway, it was good to see you all, and thank you for watching. Put the comments in, whether this is on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching, as well as info@passionitgroup.com. It's going to be there. The infamous click, share, like, subscribe, all that. We'll see you next time.